Magic Conj, will I ever get to meet Tom Kenny?
Maybe someday.
Oh, so you're saying there's a chance. Okay. Should I tell fans of the show how they can support us?
Yes.
Goofy Goobers, supporting the show is shockingly easier than catching a blue jellyfish. Right from our anchor page, anchor.fm/SpongePod, you can find links to all of our social media and a support button if you happen to have a few extra clams. Also follow us on mixer.com/SpongePodSquareCast, where it's not only the official home to our sister show, Video Bob Game Pants, it's also where I stream live drawings of various Nickelodeon characters and host the opportunity for commissions and giveaways. Lastly, the official merchandise store is now open at redbubble.com/people/SpongePod, where various designs will be uploaded inspired by our show, including our official logo, which is now available on a multitude of products like t-shirts, stickers, duvet covers, and even a shower curtain. This is a podcast by a fan, for fans, and will always be fan-driven. Any way you see fit on supporting our show is much appreciated. Thank you, and enjoy. Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to another episode of I'm Ready, a SpongePod Squarecast. In this episode, we are going to be talking about and watching Boating School, which is from the first season, episode 4B, the sister episode to Naughty Nautical Neighbors. Before we get into anything about the episode, just wanted to talk just a second and let you know I love all of the support I've gotten from you guys thus far, the nice messages from Instagram. Follow us at SpongeBob Podcast. Super simple. We are on Twitter as well. I think it's I'm Ready Podcast, but Instagram obviously has been successful, and there's a Facebook page as well. But yeah, Instagram has been a very easy means to talk to some of you guys and get a little bit of your feedback. I found, my show's on iTunes, and iTunes won't post up ratings until it gets to a certain amount, and but that's not the case on Apple Music, which pretty much you put any rating and it shows up right away. So I happened to see us on Apple Music, and there was a 1-star rating, and I thought my first inclination was to be upset about that, but then I went, this is still a new show. We've been around for almost a year now, and there isn't much to show for it, and it's still chugging along very slowly, but picking up. And even the greatest TV shows, the greatest movies, the greatest musical entertainers has people who would give that stuff 1 star. And no, I am not saying that my show is anywhere near the best of anything, but I don't personally think my show is 5 stars, and that's just me being critical. The goal is to get it to a 5-star level, and the only way for that to happen, honestly, is by the people who listen, by the fans. And so if anybody likes the content I'm putting out, please, by all means, any constructive criticism, any sort of praise, tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Even if you say this show sucks and you move on with your day, like, hey, that stuff I ignore. I'd rather know why you don't like something. That's why any of the videos I put up on YouTube, I disable the knee-jerk rating reactions and keep the comments open, because I'd rather somebody go like, I don't like your show because of this, this, and this, and then for me to digest that and go like, all right, like let's try to move this forward, because even though I'm running this show, I'm the captain here. I don't have all the ideas. I don't have all the answers. I'm just trying to make a good show. And support everyone else out there. If you're a SpongeBob fan, by all means, like there's a few other shows doing this idea. I'm not the first. I had the name like 10 years ago when there was no other SpongePod Squarecasts, and I just sat on it for so many years. So that's my own fault, but we're going to keep this chugging along. We're almost coming up to the first live stream of, it's going to be Nicktoons Racing. We're going to do both the PS1 and Game Boy versions. I'm trying to get the arcade version as well. So follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. When that date is coming up, that's going to be, I believe, because after I play the game, that footage is going to be uploaded to YouTube. But an episode of the show is going to be dedicated to reviewing the game. That's going to be episode 23. So we're almost there. It's coming up, but it's going to be at some point this year. So pay attention to social media. I will bark about that. Like the second I have a date that we're going to be live streaming on Twitch or Mixer, once I know all that information is concrete, I will be every day putting posts up about it to get people to watch. And if one person watches, that's fine, and it's gonna at least turn into a semi-regular thing at that point. So yeah, we are moving on to boating school. This is an episode with a lot of firsts in it, just like a bunch of episodes in season 1, but these are some important ones. This is the first episode in which we meet Mrs. Puff. This is the first episode that we are introduced to her boating school. This is also the first episode that the My Leg running gag made its debut here. Boom, Fred the Fish. The boating school is important because it started out apparently as a genesis by Nickelodeon, kind of giving. Now, originally SpongeBob was a little bit more of a child at one point. His name was Sponge Boy. He had a little bit more of a childlike appearance to him, and the idea of the boating school, as far as the stuff I have ever read, came from the fact of like it was an easy way for there to still be a school element, but it's also something an adult would be doing. Just like us as humans, we go to driving school. You go about when you're 15, 16, 17, even some people wait till they're 18 and afterwards. That's the boating school. So you can still have episodes where it feels like he's younger, but it's not inherently, like school. So that's kind of the gray area there, the fun they can have. They can have episodes that are a little bit more adult with the boating school. Like this one is a little bit more adult, and then you have other episodes where it's more of a kid thing that he's in the school for. And trust me, if I have people listening who haven't gone through driving school, I failed. I'm kind of the opposite of SpongeBob because there was an electronic test that I failed twice. And it was just, I forgot how many questions it was, but I think it was like 15 questions. If you got 3 wrong, you were done. And by the end, by like question 15, I would have had, both times I failed, I had 2 wrong. But I'm at question 15. It's like, this is the last one. If you get it right, you pass. If you get it wrong, you fail. So the first time that happened, I'm just sweating bullets, and I just blanked out and messed up. And that didn't feel terrible. Failing the second time felt terrible. Because you're away. I was away from coming out to my mother and saying I failed. I don't think she was that surprised, but my father brought me the second time, and when I went back out and said like, yeah, I didn't pass, he was a little upset. Not angry, just I think more angry at the whole situation. Like, come on, he knew I knew what I was doing as far as answering those questions. So it was just frustrating. Like, how could you fail? Because I know you passed all the courses and you were studying, and I'm just like, I just got nervous. Because they don't let you sit. It's just like you're at this big touchscreen. You're standing there, and it's just super nervous. I passed the third time, and then when it came to the driving part, it was like cake. It was a cakewalk for me. So unlike SpongeBob, who excels, as far as I know, as any of their writing portions of this exams, he knows all the information that there needs to be about driving. But the second he gets behind that wheel of that boat, it's just done. It's almost like all that information just goes out of his head. So complete opposite for me. Now let's talk a second about Mrs. Puff. This is her first appearance. She is the first like big secondary character in the show. There's you have your main cast, and we've been introduced to everybody. And this is like the first character outside of that that plays a massive role in SpongeBob's life. there's a few of these characters out there. There's a small handful of those secondary characters, and there's no denying that Mrs. Puff is the most important out of all of them. And she is voiced by the absolute wonderful Mary Jo Catlett, who is a longtime actress. 2013, I believe it's 2013, she retired from acting but has maintained a few voice acting gigs, because voice acting is it's a job you can show up in your pajamas, and she's been Mrs. Puff for so long. I mean, this episode Boating School debuted all the way back on August 7th, 1999. So since then, she's been voicing Mrs. Puff, which I can't imagine it's a lot of, how many sessions in a year does she show up to do Mrs. Puff? I can't imagine it's that much. So it's an easy gig, and I imagine she likes it. And I'm happy she's still with us. Absolutely. I believe she's the oldest member of the cast right now. I believe she's got a couple of years on Roger Bumpus. Yeah, let me double check on that. She is 81 years old. And Roger Bumpus, which, I don't keep track of their ages. Roger Bumpus is 68. Okay, she's got years on him. I don't know. I think Roger was anywhere near 80. By the way, I'm going to say this now just because I just thought of it. I have 2 signed pops by Squidward Pops by Roger Bumpus. Neither of them, this is just a very quick anecdote, bear with me. Neither of them I was there for. And what happened was, this was a couple months ago, so I'm recording this in January 2020. So I think in October of 2019, my brother was going up to a Comic-Con in Boston. And when he told me he was going, he was like, hey, check out who's going to be there. Maybe I can get something signed for you. I immediately go to the voice actors. I mean, I wouldn't mind meeting a celebrity, but I think like John Travolta is going to be there. It's not, I wouldn't get excited to meet John Travolta, but but voice actors, I'm like all day and night, I'll meet them, because those people have a huge effect on me. Second I saw Roger Bumpus, I was like, well, I know what you're getting signed. So I gave him the Squidward Pop, and I gave him a blue paint marker because I thought it would look really good with the box and everything. And he messages me. This is on a Saturday. He messages me a little later. Hold on, I gotta grab this because it's so specific. He messages me later on, going like, "Hey, I got him to sign the pop." I was like, "All right, cool, that's wonderful." And he was holding back information. He was like, "I don't think you're gonna be 100% happy though." I said, "Why? What's up?" I'm trying to like hold the mic while grabbing this at the same time. So, my brother apparently meets Roger Bumpus and doesn't speak up loud enough for my name, because he was going to write it to Eric, Roger Bumpus. So he sends me the picture of this pop, and in blue paint marker it says "To Harry, Roger Bumpus," and Harry is crossed out, and it says Eric. And he was like, he yelled at me in Squidward's voice. It was really funny, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's a great story for you, and this is hilarious." But I'm just the anxiety I had at that point. It was palpable. So then I found out that a friend of mine was going on Sunday. So I told him the story, and to get a signature, I think it was $30 or $40, which that's not terrible to meet somebody and get their autograph. So I found out this other person was going to be there on Sunday. I went out. I had to get another Squidward Pop. My brother wasn't going to be back until Monday, so I had to get a new paint marker. And I gave it to this person, gave them the $30 or $40. But apparently, I don't know if he handed him the paint marker or if Roger was just like, he said, he wasn't taking the paint marker. But he signed the second Squidward Pop to Eric, Roger Bumpus, in a regular Sharpie. So I don't have the perfect signed pop, but I love the Too Hairy one now even more just because of that. And that is my Squidward pop anecdote. That I can't believe it happened then, and I've recorded a few episodes and have not mentioned that story until now. I don't know what about now. I guess just talking about Roger Bumpus made me think of that. So, back to recording. So Mary Jo has done a bunch of different television programs. She's done Dukes of Hazzard. She's done Different Strokes. She was on a couple episodes of General Hospital. She was on a couple episodes of That's So Raven. She was the witch in Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. But looking at her whole career here in television, and even in film, like the biggest thing that pops out of all of this is Mrs. Puff. You know, she was a main cast member in seasons 5 through 8 on Different Strokes. But when you just look at the magnitude of how long SpongeBob has been on the air, it's just there's no comparison to any of these other gigs here. So I got to imagine even if she just stopped taking bookings and everything, she would probably still be doing SpongeBob until she literally can't anymore. So good for her. A lot of love for her. I hope to meet her one day, very soon. Speaking of pops, where's our Mrs. Puff pop? Come on, Funko. There's a whole I have a whole episode. I'm a Funko Pop collector. There's a whole episode I can do about Funko Pops. I love the Nickelodeon line. That's the one I mainly collect. And they stopped at the Wild Thornberries. They were doing all of the Nicktoons in order for any Nicktoons fans out there. Obviously, SpongeBob and Invader Zim they did out of order, and then they did, but like they did Ren and Stimpy, and then they did Rugrats and Rocko's Modern Life and Out Real Monsters and Hey Arnold and Cat Dog. They were doing them pretty strictly in order, and then they did Wild Thornberries and stopped. And the next ones are Rocket Power, and it's like there's still so much. Like I said, I could do a whole episode and just rant on this stuff. I want a Winslow pop from Cat Dog. I want a Humvee pop ride with Debbie Thornberry. Where are the twins? Where's Phil and Lil from Rugrats? Come on, Funko. This is like if you ever, even on the SpongeBob Instagram, if you ever see me comment on any Funko stuff, it's harassing them over the Nicktoons line. So we need a Mrs. Puff pop so I can get that signed. All right, Funko? Knock it off with the Star Wars and Harry Potter for like a week, please. All right, that's my Funko rant. Anyway, so yeah, Mary Jo. So we have the boating school. We have Mrs. Puff. We of course have the long running gag, My Legs, starting in this episode, and this starts an entire kind of side story of SpongeBob. Just kind of like Plankton. Plankton's goal is to get the Krabby Patty, and a few other characters kind of have these series-long missions. This starts a whole new one in which SpongeBob is just unable to get his boating license. He seems to be doing okay without it. They've never really mentioned how long it takes, because he's biked to work. He has one of those like unicycles. I don't know how long it takes for him to get from home to the Krusty Krab. He seemed okay in the first episode getting there without the use of a boat. And I don't know like where he would go or what he would do with a boat, like what his intentions are, but he seems to get fine around Bikini Bottom fine without it. So I don't know. It's just one of those questions that I don't think there's a need for him, and I would probably tell him like, dude, stop wasting your time going to boating school. I think you're fine. But if it's something where it's like it takes him 2 hours to walk to the Krusty Krab every day because of the boat, without the boat, that's where I would say, yeah, okay. But Squidward bikes to work too, so and we've seen SpongeBob drive. We've seen him drive a sandwich. He knows what's going on. I think when push comes to shove, he can drive a boulder and a boat, a boulder and a burger. I think he can handle a boat. I think it's just that nervousness of that test that freaks him out. But I think if Mrs. Puff giving him his license, I don't think he would drive around terribly. I don't think she had anything to worry about. But anyway, So yeah, we're gonna watch this episode together. I'm going to take a quick breather here, and we'll be right back to watch the episode of Boating School.
2,000 years later.
All right, and we're back. I hope the one thing I just thought about during the holidays. I think there was like 2 or 3 episodes that were uploaded with a special ad about adopting animals, and that was something that was really special for me to do for Anchor. So any feedback on that, any feedback on the ads, I know that one plays in the beginning of the show, and I know that right, in between the little break there before we watch the episode, there's sometimes plays an ad. I don't want ads to be intrusive, and I definitely, if I do something, I want it to be fun and something I believe in. Of course, working with Anchor is something I absolutely adore. I love their service, and I think, like, hey, if anybody wants to start a podcast, putting in an Anchor is the easiest way. And I've been doing podcasting for years. So, yeah, any feedback about those specifically, by all means, please drop me a line. So, yeah, we're watching Boating School. As I've mentioned, if you have Amazon Prime, you get the first few seasons of SpongeBob for free, which is pretty cool. That's how I'm going to be watching. But you can, of course, watch along if you have the DVD Lost at Sea, if you have the complete first season, the first 100 episodes, the first 2 seasons combo pack, and then the best 200 episodes ever. And I believe the Tea at the Tree Dome DVDs have this as well. If you happen to go super old school and you have the Lost at Sea or the Sponge That Can Fly, the Sponge Who Can Fly VHS tapes, by all means, put those VHS tapes in and cross-contaminate eras of entertainment. You have like a podcast from 2020 and a VHS. That would be pretty cool. But anyway, so yeah. I'm at the title screen for Boating School. If you want to follow along, you can click play right now. And Boating School. Torreson Jr., Mr. Lawrence, Eric Weiss, Tom Yasumi, Derek Tryman. There's a few errors in this episode. The first one comes pretty close here. SpongeBob's alarm clock, which is this giant boat siren, is in a higher pitched tone. And now this is information I'd look up. I am not a musical person at all. Usually his boat blows in the key of F, but in this episode it does it in the key of B or an A sharp. And I know what that is because I do have people who are musically going music school around me. So yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what happened. Maybe they were trying something new to see if doing a higher pitch would be better. So this unicycle contraption. It reminds me of Squidward's bike a little bit. Obviously, it's got that whole just like underwater maneuver here. All right, so this guy, apparently his name is Jimmy. He earned his driver's license. He is in the credits. He is referenced as a customer, which is listed as an error. And I'm going to defend this. You do have to pay to go to boating school. So calling him a customer isn't that wrong. So yeah, the oral exam. As I already mentioned, so anybody who is obviously going to go driving, it's not an exam like this. I don't know how every state does, so I don't want to say that in your prospective town or state there wouldn't be an oral exam like this. At least from anyone I've run into and had conversations and told that story about failing, it's been pretty consistent with electronic tests. Although I did have one person, I believe from Massachusetts, say that they, it was still on a computer, but they had to type answers in, and it wasn't anything that you found out right away that you passed or not. Like, you'd have to write, like type in and write the test, and then, you'd be let go, and then they would tell you in a day or so if you passed. So I'm sure that's more around. So I wonder if Mrs. Puff wears the helmet for every other student, or if it's just I know why she does it for SpongeBob. Here we go. I gotta hear from my leg. There we go. Why do they have fish watching? Like, they have fish in stands watching people, on their boating exams. That just seems weird. That's not something I would ever. He's not walking, but he's done it. But yeah, I don't. If they, I'm just trying to put myself in the perspective. If they had the ability to watch people perform their driving test. But your driving test isn't on a closed course. I mean, my driving test it started in a parking lot, but then it was like, hey, we're going to go drive on the main roads. I like that, Patrick. Pat, don't do that. Okay, I didn't laugh, but let me tell you, the idea that Patrick went into SpongeBob's house, went into a closet in his library, which is massive, by the way. I don't think SpongeBob's library gets enough credit for just how cool it looks. But for Patrick to break into the house, go into the closet that's in SpongeBob's library for some reason, and to put on the pants, and it's just like, I'm going to sit here and make... my best friend wouldn't... Okay. I can't. I would do that for my best friend solely just to reference this episode. But without thinking of SpongeBob, I wouldn't do that to my best friend. And I don't think he would do that for me. And if he did, it would literally only be to reference this episode. The fact that he's yelling, testing. Let's see. There you can go, Lucky Underwear. Everybody should have a pair of Lucky Underwear. Apparently, when SpongeBob entered his side room, he uses a slide, but it disappears once he sits down. I'm just going to let that slide. I'm going to let that go because the slide entrance is cool enough, and maybe it retracts. I love the idea that Mrs. Puff here just got dropped off by an ambulance. Apple's underwater. Now, the test seems absolutely insane coming up. Like, and SpongeBob's doing very incredible acrobatics with the boat that I like. Is Mrs. Puff asking for him to drive on one side of the boat? So he started the boat, which she seems so nervous about. How does Patrick know how to drive? This is the stuff. This is a little bit of a complaint. Season 1, Patrick, even though he's dim-witted, still seems smart. He seems cognitive. Like he could see. He knows like how to drive. He knows about the big toe. He knows about all this stuff with driving. And I'm coming to realize that now everything that SpongeBob does behind the wheel is all because of Patrick. Even the incredible stuff I was talking about. So Patrick, super smart. He's able to drive. But later seasons, they just they turn that dimwit dial all the way up and really just make that an incredible an incredible part of his character, where it just, he is so dumb. But go back to the earlier seasons, he's not that bad. So we got this road that hooks up over a piece of coral. And Patrick's still putting on SpongeBob's pants, even though he's not supposed to. Yep, flying over an anchor. SpongeBob's diary. I wonder what Patrick read. I wonder. I'd like to think that maybe the photo from the Christmas party of SpongeBob is in that diary, and Patrick just took it right there. SpongeBob, yeah. So Patrick's able to direct him without even looking. He's in the kitchen, and somehow directing SpongeBob around through the boat. I know it's a cartoon, but Patrick's incredible. So we're about to be at the finish line, and Mrs. Puff makes one little joke about cheating. Now, the idea of the walkie-talkie, I mean, people have probably maybe cheated during driving exams and whatnot, but when I think of the little hearing device and cheating, I instantly think of thing like spelling bees, people who have the little earpieces in and have people, you know, giving you the answers over the earpiece. So I don't know if they got that from those situations, because there's definitely, I don't know in the top of my head, but I'm sure that's happened a bunch of times for spelling bees, like kids and whatnot. And I'm sure even on a national level, I'm sure they do spelling bees after, you know, like adults. I just also like that SpongeBob happens to own a hat that perfectly hides that antenna under. I would like to, like I said it earlier, I would like to think that outside of the test, Patrick running away as if he's gonna get caught. I'm sure outside of the test, SpongeBob would be an incredible driver. I don't think he would be this terrible. I think it's just the environment, and because it seems like that driving course is unrealistic. It's not real. It actually, oh my goodness, that reminds me of. There's a show, Mythbusters, and he breaks the same lighthouse. There's a show, Mythbusters, and I can't tell you what season or what episode, but there's of course the two main Mythbusters, Adam and Jamie, and then there's the secondary Mythbusters, the three, Tori. Oh my goodness, who are the three Mythbusters? I'm going to give them credit because they upset me in this one episode. And Mrs. Puff's course reminds me of that course there. Carrie, Tori, and Grant Imahara. So those three were doing the test that you could drive, that like people going past border patrols in the middle of the night would shut all the lights off in their car and be able to drive fast enough past those points to not get caught. And to do this test, they did it at a go-kart course, shut all the lights off and had like logs and stuff in the middle of the go-kart course. And I'm sitting there thinking, what road going past one of these checkpoints is like a go-kart track, you know? So the test was, could you shut the lights off and drive, you know? And and you're missing the realistic moonlight. You know, the fact that your eyes are going to adjust with the moonlight, and then you're able to see a little bit better at night, and that always bothered me. So that reminded me of Mrs. Puff's course. It's not a realistic representation to driving out in the world would be for SpongeBob. So I think that's a bit unfair, but that was the episode, Boating School. It's very simple. It shows off SpongeBob's strengths. It shows off that, you know, he's able, as far as the oral exam goes, he is able to crush that. He's obviously done it a ton of times. But then it also shows his anxiety. The second he gets behind that wheel, Mrs. Puff's right next to him with her clipboard. And he just shuts down. He can't do it. And this is also a good showcase for Patrick too, who without him, SpongeBob wouldn't be able to do any of those of those stunts or any of the driving, even the simple thing of turning on the car was all Patrick. And I wish we could get back to that. I mean, I love Patrick being dumb, but I also like those moments where he can be a little smart too. So it's a little bothering. But anyway, that was boating school. That was the introduction to Mrs. Puff. That was the start of the My Leg running gag. An absolute wonderful episode in season 1. And just another wonderful episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. So this is Captain Eric. Reminder, if you want to keep in touch with the show, we do have the Facebook page. We are on YouTube, at SpongeBob Podcast on Instagram, and I think at I'm Ready Podcast on Twitter. Although I will just be perfectly honest, Twitter, out of all social medias, is probably going to be used the least and just kind of used once in a while, just like big updates and whatnot. So thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day today, Sponge fans.